reality of crime and violence in the city, and what steps would your administration take to reduce crime?
First of all, everyone knows that crime is a problem in Brockton. It's no secret. But we're doing things that are starting to make some progress. We created a quality of life team, which goes out on the street. They've made over 3,000 contacts. They've taken numerous guns and people off of the street. We got almost $1.4 million in Shannon grant money over the last two years. In comparison, Taunton got $38,000. We're replacing outdated equipment. I'll give you another example of being a mayor. I go to Washington all the time begging for money for this city. I got a call from Senator Kennedy's office this afternoon that they finally, after 2 years of fighting for this, they awarded us, it got passed through the Senate, $250,000 for technology funds for the police department today. And that's what happens when you're the mayor. You have to start. It takes time for these things to happen. They don't happen overnight. But we are now starting to show results. Crime is down overall. The test scores are up in the schools, and unemployment is down. Those things weren't the case when I took office last year. These are comparisons from last year to this year. So, and my opponent says that I'm taking a positive approach. Well, God forbid, that's what we should all be doing. If we will love this city the way I love it, you don't go around trying to tear it down. Thank you.
And you realize even the case of crime, it's more than just a perception, as his mayor indicated before the preliminary election. He talks a lot about waiting for the scientists and data to help him make decisions. And I think what happened in the preliminary was he saw the real data, the real scientists, which were the voters. And so he's sort of changing his beat about what's important to him all of a sudden. Let's be honest, Mr. Harrington did not create the quality of life team. That team existed well before the mayor got into office. In fact, that team includes 2 individuals at the moment. Before, it included 5 officers. The fact is that there's a caveat if you listen very closely to Mr. Harrington's comments. He says crime overall is down. But I'll tell you that the number of murders in the city this year takes us back to 1993 and the total number of murders. If you look at the number of kids who are dying through heroin overdoses, the numbers are skyrocketing in the city.
That once again, my opponent is not telling the truth. If you were to speak to the district attorney, when I went to him back in April and asked him if he would allow us to go out and arrest drug dealers without building a case against them, if he would allow us to go out and take these people off the street that were doing prostitution, selling drugs, and doing other things. So he agreed that he would let us do it. He also agreed that he would supply 2 state troopers a day, and we would supply 2 Brockton police officers a day to do that. And that's how the quality of life team got started. And let me just talk a little bit about this perception thing that Mr. Stewart keeps talking about. The perception that I talk about is you, Mr. Stewart, and people like you who continue to make outrageous statements about this city. All through the campaign, the primary campaign, you kept calling Legion Parkway the crack capital of the world. Now I want to ask you a question about that.
But the fact
First of all, let me finish. Wait a minute, stop interrupting me. Let me finish. You could have the time. I didn't interrupt you. Please don't interrupt me.
I was quoting someone else who said that.
No, you said it.
No, it came to me.
Okay,
Please, candidates, one then the other.
Regardless of whether we said it.
Facts correct, at least. I was quoting someone else.
Are we going to allow
one then the other?
Is he going to be allowed to continue to interrupt me when I'm speaking?
No, one candidate then the other. That's the ground.
I mean, I think we should try to be respectful to each other. If somebody's talking, we should let them finish. I think that would be the right thing to do. Would everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
I'm sure you won't interrupt me, but I will listen to your answer, and I would ask for the same respect.
We can get back to the
But I want to ask, let me finish the question, please, before I was interrupted. There are people that have businesses up in that area that are trying to make a living, and they're trying to feed their families. When I first took office as mayor in January 2006, we got a call from the church, Messiah Baptist Church, and they asked us to sit down with them with the police chief about what was going on in Legion Parkway. We immediately put a patrolman up there every day, and he didn't get in the car. He got out of that car and walked around there. We worked with the church. The police chief and I walked that neighborhood on a regular basis, and we knocked on doors to every business owner there. I go there at least 3 days a week to pick up my dry cleaning. I know what goes on in Legion Parkway. We have video surveillance on Legion Parkway. So for you to get up there and make those comments that affects those people's lives, that's what I'm talking about perception. It's people like you that keep trying to tear this city down, and that's what I'm talking about perception on crime, Mr. Stewart.
I think what's tearing the city down is when a mayor ignores the issues, and then if you ignore the issues, you can't deal with them. This is actually from the Brockton Police Department website, so I'm hoping that I'm not making up information. We had 11 murders so far this year in 2007. We had 15 in 1993. We haven't had that many murders, 11, since that time in 93, and that was one of the most difficult times in Brockton's history. So again, Mr. Harrington is cherry-picking information and putting forward an unrealistic view. And I understand, being in that position, you want to get a message across that you are on top of things. The fact is, he is not on top of things. Concerning Legion Parkway, yes, my office is there, and I'll tell you about that dry cleaners who lives there. Obviously, I buy food at the Haitian restaurant. I talk to all the business owners there, and I was actually visiting the dry cleaners once, and this guy had his bubblegum dispenser machine behind the counter. And I said to him, "Oh, that's a strange place for you to put that dispenser." And he said, "Well, because the drug dealers were using the dispenser to sell their drugs. So they would come into this store, because that was at the front of the store. They would slip drugs into the bubblegum dispenser. Then the next person would come and pretend like they're purchasing gum and take their drugs out." So I'm not the one who's breaking down the city and keeping businesses from growing. It's the fact that there has been total neglect on the part of this mayor to get the job done on Legion Parkway. And yes, I see the drug deals going on Legion Parkway. We know that it exists. The business owners on Legion Parkway have complained about the drug deals. The fact is, I believe because we are there, things have gotten better. And they've commented on that as well. Thank God you chose Legion Parkway for your headquarters, because now Legion Parkway gets more attention. So leadership is not coming in behind a movement and taking credit for things that you do not deserve for, Mr. Harrington. You don't deserve credit.
I told you this before. You cannot continue to say that I'm responsible for everything bad without giving me credit for the things that are good.
For the first time,
That's just not right.
I will caution the audience, please hold your applause. I did hear some that last time.